Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to a holiday edition of the Turf Today podcast. My name is Adam Kershane, and I will be your host for the next hour and a half or so as we go through some of the best stories from the first season of the Turf Today podcast. Now, we couldn't get everything in here. We obviously missed some good ones, but this is a great collection of some awesome stories from amazing people all over the world. So, without further ado, I'm going to send it on down to Mark Prier out of Toronto, Canada, who had one of the best stories by far all season long. Check it out. But what about closing that course? I feel like it'd be tough leading into, like, how much work are you doing leading up to the last minute? You know, like, you're trying to save a little bit of money, or we just go hard right to the last day?
Did you let it go? Did you turn off the irrigation? That's actually a really good question, Adam. Like,
Was there some quiet quitting going on?
You know, it was
quiet quitting. Oh God!
So you get there was another number of clubs in the area that were sort of facing the same thing, and you kind of do your homework. You're like, okay, so XYZ Golf Club is closing. You call the guy up. You're like, hey, what kind of package are you guys looking at? Like, what are you guys doing to ramp down? And so we knew about 10 months ahead of when it was going to happen, and then it ended up, in my instance, the club actually sold, but it didn't close. So an operator came in and ran it for about 3 or 4 more years. So here's the beauty part. I got to have my cake and eat it too. I got my buyout and everything, but I didn't actually close the golf course. So a kind of a management company came in and kind of ran it for the last 3 years. But it did actually close its doors last year for real. But insane story was so it would have sold in 2018, and in the middle of 2017, the clubhouse burned to the ground.
Oh no.
Yeah, so so my no, they were no.
Interesting timing. 10 months, you knew?
It was no. You would think they would be related, actually, the way that we're talking in the way.
No, the way that you're talking is they're really good folks. That was 100% a joke. Definitely didn't think that at all.
But do they rebuild the clubhouse with only that much time left? Yeah.
So here's how the timing couldn't have been worse, actually. So driving into work one day, and I'm about, so it would have been August.
Way too bright out here.
Well, you could see the flashes of light because it was kind of late August, so it was dark when we were driving into work, and I'm like, oh my God, those fucking rough cutters started the fire early. You're not supposed to start the burn. Like just a rough, because it might have been a cool morning, and they might have just been burning brush in the brush pile down at the shop. But our burn permit, you can't burn before the sun comes up. But you got all these old rough cutters. If they got nothing to do when there's frost out, or not that there'd be frost in August, but you know, sometimes they like to get things going ahead of time. And a couple of times I've had to bitch at them. I'm like, don't start the fucking fire. Don't start the burn on the golf course with the brush until the sun comes up, because the fire department won't let us do that. But it's August, and it's like, why are they starting to fucking burn at 5:30 in the morning? And as I'm driving in, I'm like, wait a second, that's nowhere near the burn pile. Like, nowhere. It's like hundreds of yards away. Oh, it looks like the clubhouse is on fire.
They got really, really bored that morning.
Oh my God. So I drive into the clubhouse part, and I'm like, fuck, call 911. Yeah. And they called in like every fire truck. There's like 11 fire trucks there. Police department shows up first. And they're like,
thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Hey boys, get in there.
Oh yeah. Then the fire department shows up, and the police department the fire department's like, get out there and work traffic. And the police department looks at the fire department like, you guys put the wet stuff with the hot stuff and fuck off. It's like they were kind of chirping at each other. Yeah, it was pretty funny. And but the and there was no one in the building, obviously. It was an overnight fire it was like a kitchen fire. So anyway, the place burns to the ground. They go through insurance, they rebuild the whole clubhouse, and at basically the last maybe 6 months of the clubhouse being rebuilt was the announcement of the club being sold. It's like, wow. So they build the clubhouse, run it for 2 more years, then they have to completely tear the clubhouse down.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That sucks.
Just funny. It was just, I mean, sorry, not funny. There's nothing funny about it. It's tragic.
It's funny now, and it's funny because things in the past that are bad end up being funny after a while. And fuck, it can be funny.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's shitty, but it's still funny. Fuck.
But I mean, you look at what land sells for in the Greater Toronto area. You know, it's tens of millions of dollars. So if it's like, okay, you know, we had to rebuild a clubhouse at the cost of $1 million, it's like, and let's say a club sells for 80 million, it's like it's really a drop in the bucket, and you could
Mhm.
probably anyway. But I mean,
Yeah.
it's just and you can't predict when a clubhouse is going to burn down. I mean,
Or
yeah,
you can.
Or the old kitchen
yeah,
electrical fire. you know.
yeah, something like that. So
Yeah.
yeah, so that was the end of my time there. Yeah, I was actually dealing with all the bullshit about we had to bring in trailers and we had to bring in all this. So the clubhouse is physically burning. Okay, this is a crazy story. Clubhouse physically burning. I had a general manager, and she just wasn't just optically couldn't see things well from time to time. So she's there and like she's like freaking out upset. Like I get
Yeah,
it.
all of her post-it notes are on fire now.
That's it, right? And she's just losing her shit. And she's like, "Oh my god, it's so terrible, it's so terrible." And I look at it, I'm like, "Listen, no one died in the fire. Members maybe lost a couple of pairs of shoes and some trophies burned, and it
I knew
wasn't."
Nikes.
Yeah, yeah. Oh no, what's hilarious because members were showing up like wanting to go golfing, but our pro shop was separate. And they're like, "Oh," and then they're like, "Oh, we just want to go in the clubhouse and get our shoes out of the locker." Like, and
Pardon
the
me.
clubhouse is on fire. Like, it was just like
I
bizarre.
hope that every set of clubs that was in there were Callaway because that's where they belong.
That's where they
But more of the story was I'm looking at it and I'm like, okay, listen, the clubhouse is going to burn to the ground, but the golf course, nothing is wrong with it. It's Monday. We have men's day on Wednesday, and we're going to have about 280 men out here, and they're going to need some food. So I'm already thinking,
Whoa. Your men's club was 280?
yeah, we had quite a successful men's league there. Yeah, it was, yeah, fucking awesome. It was
What?
fucking awesome. It was the
Yeah, it's a
shit.
lot because like a
Yeah.
full
God
shotgun, the full
damn.
shotgun's like 244, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
280 is
So-
a lot of
Fuck,
guys.
sorry to interrupt, but Jesus
Yeah.
Christ, 280?
Yeah, we were a very successful men's section there. So the Wednesdays at Trafalgar in the last few years, basically 4 Wednesdays of the month would represent about 60% of the food and beverage there. Would be bigger than weekends.
Hmm.
Yeah. It
The
was
boys
crazy.
just raking them in, eh?
It was a goddamn frat party on Wednesdays. It was so fun, and people joined the club just to be
Just for
part of the
that.
men's section.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
quite good. But like so Monday the clubhouse is burning. I'm thinking this is August. Like people are going to come here. They're still going to come and golf, and they're still going to want to eat and drink. So we got to get some trailers in here. We got to get some food trucks in here. So my GM, she's looking at me. She goes, "Are you not upset?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm upset, but we got 48 hours to get trailers in here. Like, why don't we get on the fucking phone and start doing some shit?" So I go into the pro shop. I'm like, okay, every member now has lost all their golf shoes unless they're in the back of their car, which they're not. And so I said to the one pro, I'm like, call up FootJoy and let them know what happened. We need, I don't know, 400 or 500 pairs of golf shoes in here. And so head pro calls Titleist FootJoy. And we're like, sorry, really can't help you out. The CP Women's Open is taking place in Ottawa, and we can't really send anybody out to Trafalgar Golf Club. It's like, are you out of your fucking head? Like, really? And so the other guy, next call was to Adidas. Adidas is like, yep, we're going to send it. They sent us, I don't know, probably 1,000, maybe 1,200 pairs of shoes.
Holy smokes.
Adidas is super, super sick with that. I've seen that in other instances where they send backpacks and things to like cities that burn to the ground and or schools or whatever, and then they hook it up huge. Adidas is amazing when it comes to things like that.
The man's got a million of them, let me tell you. So we are now going to boot on over to the UK and hear from one of our first female guests. A quick story from Katie Castle, the girl greenkeeper.
Yeah, my eyes like to play tricks on me. Funny story actually, when it was like my first like October there, I'm like petrified. Like I hate Halloween, and it was when the film It came out, the like remake, and I was like, I'm terrified. I hate clowns. Like, what if? Because there's a lot of footpaths that around the course. I was like, what if like a clown jumps out? And like my eyes would just start to play tricks on me. I was like, I can't go out there on my own. Everyone would just be like, well.
You know,
No, I remember one time I had my headlamp on and I just see a pair of eyes staring back at me, and I've never like hopped on a gator so fast. It was obviously like a deer or something, but honestly, I was terrified.
Yikes.
the new meaning to John Deere.
Oh,
Yeah.
got him.
Jeez,
Trev doesn't have deer in his course. He just has these big elk that follow him around.
dude, you and the elk.
So definitely go back and listen to that one. That is a great interview with Katie. She is an up-and-comer in this industry. All right, let's head back to North America. We are going to New York to hear from Dave Bilecki, a.k.a. Voice Talk Dave. A little bit of a shitty situation, I would say.
I wouldn't care if he was, to be honest with you.
How many times, this is from Snyder J02, how many times has Voice Talk Dave shit his pants at work? Lifetime. There was an over-under set earlier. We're not going to let you know what that was. We want to know.
I need an honest number here. There's a lot of fucking money riding on this.
It's easily under 5.
So it's over 2.
I would say probably 2 or 3. Yeah, 2 or 3 times I think
Wow.
would be a fair.
So
Now, I'm
it's
not going
over.
full-blown fucking
It's
shit my
over.
pants.
It's over 2.
Yeah, I'll give you over 2.
Fuck
Wow,
yeah.
there you go.
Told you. Ha!
It's close.
I'll give you over 2. Now, listen, I'm not going full on fucking shit my pants, but I'm going a shark, right? Enough to
counts.
be uncomfortable to where I ruin my pants and I have to go put on my rain pants. That's a solid. It's an
A
easily 2 or
shart
3
is a
times.
shit. It's okay.
Yeah, if you
Yeah.
got no
If
gift layer.
projectile exits the balloon knot, it counts as a shit.
And it always happens when it's just like you never really, you're just going to blow out a fart. Next thing you know, it's like, oh, fuck, dude, I just shit myself. I'm on 14, dude. I gotta go back to the club. Can't sit on the seat, man. I gotta go like, fuck. Now, when I worked at Timberbanks, we had a guy that he couldn't control when he had to shit, and he always had toilet paper.
That's scary, man.
He had the
That
man
would
pond.
not be good.
You would be driving down a fairway. You'd see his mower. He would mow fairways. You would see his mower parked over by the weeds. Next thing you know, he'd come crawling out of the weeds and he's just waving at you. And I'm thinking, he just dropped a deuce. That's gotta suck, man.
I don't know if what's weirder, him taking a shit in the woods or waving at you when he's coming out like he's all stoked. That
He's
can actually,
experienced.
that can actually lead to,
I'm okay.
yeah.
I'm okay.
It was only a couple logs
dropping
I
one.
wiped.
Yeah.
Wow, he's a special character, but an amazing man. If you have him in your life, you know the kind of support he's gonna offer. So, one of our favorite. Definitely will be back on the show, and we are excited to have him back on the show. He will also be at the tournament January 31st down in Tempe, Arizona. The boys are putting on the first ever Turf Today Cup. And yes, Dave will be there swinging them. All right, we are going to go over to Finland right now and talk to Jani Lehto, the first Finnish master greenkeeper. Here he is.
The Ryder Cup in 18, you got someone's autograph that I think a lot of folks on this show will be pretty jealous of.
Yeah, that was a cool one. I normally try to get a couple autograph from the tournaments for the pin flag of the tournament. And there was a driving range next to the maintenance shed. And once we're done with the morning shift, we're walking to the driving range to see who's hitting balls. And obviously there are a couple of big names like McIlroy and Sergio Garcia and guys like that hitting balls. And then all the spectators were on the other side, obviously looking for autographs. And then there was this guy who didn't want to walk through the spectators, so he took his own private buggy to go around the audience. And that was Tiger.
Oh, no.
Tiger, and when he went to the driving range, he was actually parking next to us. So I got lucky and just, I don't know how that happened. It happened really quickly, but
I wouldn't know what to
got lucky
say.
and he was signing.
The fact that you asked for the autograph and got it is huge because Tiger is not known for signing autographs.
Yeah.
Quite the opposite.
I want to know what was your line? Like, what'd you go with?
What, a pickup line?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Basically, it's Tiger Woods.
Hey, Tiger, I worked at a Denny's too.
I was basically just asking if you could sign one for the greenkeepers.
Nice.
Yeah,
Good
that was
play.
the keyword.
So Trevor and I were not ready for this interview. We were blown away by the amount of golf and the amount of turf that goes on over in Finland. So Definitely go back and listen to that one. Yanni has some amazing insights. They are doing some really cool stuff over there, and he's the man too. So that's an awesome one to check out. We are now going to fire things up to Ottawa, Canada, and hear from my buddy, Bobby Cook. But leading up to last year, one of the stories I wanted you to tell on this podcast, which is unbelievable, was about the tornadoes that went through Ottawa.
Say what? There's tornadoes in Canada?
Dude, there was a tornado that went through the city and it hit the Ottawa Hunt and Golf Club.
Yeah, so just to it was actually, they called it a derecho, which I didn't even know what that word meant before last year. But we had winds over 100 miles an hour go through the golf course. We were one of the worst areas affected, our kind of neck of the woods around the golf club. It was late May, third week of May, and we had 1,100 trees damaged, uprooted, fallen over. And
it's the best kind of tree removal, though.
Yeah.
And,
oh,
and
it
these
was
are
great.
big trees, big old property.
We were hosting an LPGA Canadian Open in over 2 months. So, yeah, last season was a bit of a whirlwind for us. And, for myself and Eric Bruce, our course superintendent, and the rest of our staff in the club put a tremendous effort forward to prepare the club, one, for member play. We were closed for 16 days. We had...
that was it, eh? 16 days. I can't believe you guys only closed that. Some of the pictures of that property. Holy smokes.
Yeah. So for the first week, we had over 15 chainsaws running. We had support from across the industry, from friends. I had colleagues come up from the Toronto area at clubs I'd worked at in the past. The OVTA supported us with equipment, with tippers, with bodies, chainsaws. It was just unbelievable seeing the community kind of rally around and lend us a hand.
So I Googled it because I was interested. But the first and only photo that they have of the golf course, it just looks like a guy who's going around picking up recycling. Just all calm, like, oh, it's just a little windstorm. But I mean, obviously, when you scroll and look deeper, there's some monster trees that fell. There's a picture of a power and or telephone line that bent over like in half. That is wild. I mean, Google it while you can and deep dive into it a bit.
The photo you see there, we probably had as many as 7 tractors and wagons hauling material at times, and they set members up with member golf carts and recycle bins, and they would rake fairways and just collect them in those carts for the first week or two, just to get the fairways cleaned off so we could cut them.
Jeez.
I was riding around with you a little bit during the Women's Open, and obviously the course was dialed in, everything was cleaned up, but you could still see some of the damage. Some of those
like
trees,
tree dents,
some of those groves and stuff, like they didn't break very much, but they just kind of moved and shifted, and they're just kind of leaning a little bit now, but just massive trees, right?
Yeah, you can still see the lean for sure. And the hardest part was, I shouldn't say the hardest part, there's a lot of hard parts, but a lot of the trees were uprooted. So, we had to make haul roads, and we had excavators come in to dig those out, and then they had to be sodded. It was crazy. We were sodding a haul road, 3 weeks, a month before the Open down a fairway edge of one hole. It was just crazy.
Another great one for us. Bobby is going to be taking over as the superintendent of the Ottawa Hunt and Golf Club coming up in the next couple seasons. So very excited for him, and a lot going on. Back in his episode this year, he was at the LACC for the US Open. So if you go back to that interview, it's mostly the beginning of that interview. He talks about volunteering at the US Open and what that was all like. So some great insights on that tournament and how all that's prepared. Bobby used to work at that golf course, so he even has even more of an insight. So that's an awesome one. Go back, check that out. We're going to fire things over to the Misquamicut Club, which is actually in Rhode Island. And Ryan Noonan, the assistant superintendent, tells a couple bangers from working over there.
So the mechanic is like the barber. You do not fight with the barber before you're cut. You do not tell our mechanic, he doesn't know what he's doing. We had an employee that's great guy, very, very smart, narcissistic, could not get out of his own way.
Mm-hmm.
rode the mechanic like crazy. Mechanic had enough one day, rolled the dumpster over to this guy's vehicle, got a chained it to his wheel, locked it, took the bolt cutters apart, put them right next to the dumpster and the chain, put the key to the lock on the roof of the vehicle. So this guy comes in cursing, grabs the bolt cutters, trying to put them together, doesn't know what the heck he's doing, just turns ugly. He's swearing at him. He's like, don't tell me how to do my job. Didn't go to blows, anything like that, but he's like, well, why don't you go look on the roof? There's the key. And
Have a good day.
Yep.
Have a good day. Fuck you.
Yeah.
Oh, so same guy, same thing, giving the mechanic more crap.
He didn't learn his lesson?
Oh, no. So he had, an old Jeep. Mechanic pops the hood. Oh, yeah, I can do this. We're going out, we're doing stuff. Hey, make sure you follow so-and-so home. All right, whatever. He lives near me. I'll follow him home. Gets to a stop sign near the course, puts his blinker on. Beep, beep, beep. Tied the blinker to the horn, so every time he used the blinker, the horn started going on.
Do not fuck with the mechanic.
I love your mechanic. I love him.
Oh man, we've all been there. We've all had to learn that lesson. Do not fuck with the mechanic. And if you have not learned that lesson, take it from us, because it can be a problem. Yeah, leave those guys alone. All right, let's head over to the West Coast from our first guest ever, Rob Sherland. Take it away, bud.
Yeah, so this goes back to the OG Kart Kid days.
This is bad. This isn't your members at your amazing members at your course.
No, the statute of limitations have expired.
We're good to go.
We're good.
He's no longer liable, so don't even prove it.
And honestly, this guy has no shame in his game. So yeah, it was men's invitational at Baywood. I was a kart kid. It's our biggest event of the year. Yeah, whatever, 200 something guys. And it's your typical men's invitational. They go out and play, and it's a shit show. I mean, in the best
They got beer coolers on each hole, several cart girls.
Oh yeah, we had Jägermeister stand. I still am like envious of like clubs don't do it like we did at Baywood back then.
Nobody's wife was okay with it, eh?
None of them remembered.
So anyways, we ended the day, and there's a pile of carts, and all the guys are over at the bar hooting and hollering, and this guy comes stumbling over from the bar area, and he's like, hey, I need to borrow a cart. And I'm like, well, like, I'm just a kid. Like, I'm just like, I don't know, man. And the pro is just like, yeah, like, go ahead, whatever.
Hey, the pro said it that you're not liable anymore. The pro did it.
Yeah,
pro did it.
Yeah,
always blame the pro. Always blame the pro.
Oh yeah, and so the guy takes off towards the parking lot, and then he comes driving back, and he's got this chick with him, and they just take out onto the golf course.
Yeah.
And I'm like what the hell is going on? And my pro
legend.
The pro just like looks at me, and he's like, yeah, you may want to like scrub that one a little extra back. And yeah, here they come. I forget, this is so long ago. They come back time later. So I'm like, I'm not gonna like touch this thing at all. Like, I don't know what just happened.
I'm leaving this to the Ingham guy.
I hope you gave him card 69 too, by the way.
Oh, good Lord.
It would have been very appropriate in this situation. But yeah, and of course I get the cart and I get my gloves on, and you know how you can like drive a golf cart without like actually touching without sitting down, you're kind of like hunched
just
up,
ghost ride.
Like, you got the 1 foot rider.
You're like heads over the windshield, like So I'm like, I am not touching this cart to save my life. Like, not one bit.
Oh boy. So it was hosed down.
Twice.
It was, yeah, scrubbed all the seats. Like,
Oh my gosh. It was great getting to talk to Rob Dog. A lot of great stories. Him and Trev being cousins. That was, they go back a long ways. And actually, Rob's coming with us to the GCSAA conference and the Turf Today Cup down in Scottsdale. So that's going to be fantastic. I think him and Bobby are actually paired up, if I'm not mistaken. We got to watch out for the Robert Bobby group. That'll be a problem. Going next over to Australia and Caboolture. Colin Caulfield, one of our favorite people in the world. A lot of great insights. One of the hardest working superintendents or greenkeepers or course managers you will ever meet. Take it away, Colin.
You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
my
Like,
mistake.
we-
Sorry, I'll keep it on the path and then just stay there.
So there was another story too you wanted us to remind you of. It was the deep impact hole changing story.
Yeah.
Is that a porn?
You're gonna have to dive into that one for us.
No,
Is that a
not porn. I don't know which one of you two are going to be
Changing
Googling
holes.
that right now just to see if it is. Yeah, so decided to get to work early one morning and get a head start, probably half an hour before normal start. I'm down changing the hole on the first green. I park the ute next to the green. It's pretty level, And while I'm bashing away, I hear this sort of like
So sorry,
creaking
Colin.
sound.
What's a ute?
Oh, sorry. It's short for utility, or what you
Okay.
guys call a pickup. It's
Okay,
probably
right
a
on.
smaller version of a pickup. Yeah, sorry.
I like that though. The ute.
Um,
Go grab the ute.
Yeah,
That's kind of
yeah.
cool.
There's a song. There's a song
Sounds dirty.
by famous. It is. There's a song by a country and western singer who's called "Baptize the Ute." So I'll leave that to you guys.
No.
Imagination. Yeah.
God damn it.
I don't think it's a movie either.
I don't want to Google that. I don't know what's going to come up. I don't think it's going to be the song.
No. Anyway, let's go back to Deep Impact.
Yeah.
So-
So
It's still staying down the right path.
So I hear this sort of creaking sound, and I look over to the ute. I'm like, I don't know. I keep going. I look over again, and next thing, the ute is just on this really slow, gradual roll forward. So it's picked up the slope on the green surrounds. So I start to run after the ute, and I'm thinking, it's going to hit that massive tree behind the green. It's all right. It'll stop. No, straight over the tree. And by this time, I'm sort of like level with the door. And I'm thinking, do I jump in through the window and try and stop it or what? But it got away on me. And the deep impact moment was me just stopping in the middle of the second fairway. And this thing is just careering down the hill. And it just run dead smack into this dead old eucalyptus tree and this massive bang. And it was at that moment where you just stop running. You're like, it doesn't matter if I run or not. Like this shit is just going to happen. And that's the deep impact moment. Bruce is on the beach and he can't go anywhere.
that's
This meteor's coming. And so anyway, so I'm sprinting back to the shed, which is about 500 odd meters to get our tractor to try and snag it out before anybody turns up to play golf. That wasn't doing anything. So then I'm like hunting for my contacts for a tow truck to come and fucking get this ute out that's sort of wedged on against this tree. If it hadn't missed the tree, it would have been about 5 meters below ground because there was a massive trench that runs down the border of that property. So
You
I'm
could
quite
say that
thankful
the
it didn't
ute would have
fall.
been in deep impact then.
It would have been. It would have been in the deep impact hole. So yeah, that was
Can't stop.
yeah. He's lost it.
Oh my gosh. So many laughs with that guy. So much fun. We could go all day with Colin, but we can't. So we're going to fire it over to Utah, where Caleb Bailey had some of the craziest golf course stories for us. And here is one of them. Oh my gosh.
It is the wild, wild west out there.
No kidding.
Holy
And
hell.
Bales and I were talking earlier. That's actually not the first time that the cops have been to the course, right? And this is actually one of the most fucked up stories I've heard about a golf course.
So this is my first season as assistant. I'm like So we're mowing tees one day, and we've got these old Jacobson like triplexes, the cable driven. It takes like two people to turn it. Like just terrible. If it snaps, it's gonna rip your leg off. But
Yeah, the old shakers.
yeah, dude. So we've got a kid mowing that, 16 years old, like barely legal to work, still in golf. Actually, he went to Salt Lake with me for a little bit to the soccer, but he's back in golf. Yeah, dude, he's mowing tees, and I'm like one whole head just moving the markers for him, and all of a sudden, like, he doesn't come. I'm like, where? Like, I'm waiting and waiting and waiting. He doesn't ever come. And so, like, finally, when I'm about to go check on him, he drives by and he's just like crying, and he just like leaves me and he just goes back to the shop. And so I'm like, okay, something happened. So he leaves. Like, he talks to Super for a second. He gets in his car. And
This is
just a seasonal, like a just random seasonal. So he leaves, and then all of a sudden he comes back.
He was crying.
Yeah, on the mower. And so I'm like, I don't know what happened. And he beat me to the shop, talks to Super, gets in his car and leaves. And so by the time I get back to the shop, like, he's pulling back into the pro shop, and they're at the clubhouse, and here comes like officers and his mom, and they're all up there. I'm like, what happened? So turns out this kid is mowing, and like, we train him, these mowers are so old, we don't shut them off. We just like, you go in the woods and you idle down, run a mountain course. Like, it's not a big deal. Well, some guy visiting from California, just like a walker. This is how I feel about California, man. He's walking, carrying his own bag, hits a bad shot. So he walks up to this kid and he's like, why do you turn off your mower? And he's like, well, what?
Yep, he's 100% from California.
He's like, why don't you turn off your mower? And he's just like, yelling at this kid. And the kid's like, I can't turn off my mower. And as far as I know, that's all that happens. So dude like pulls out a 9-iron out of his bag and just like starts hitting him with it. And then the kid starts like trying to grab it. So he grabs the kid by the shirt and rips him off the mower, and then just like throws him on the ground and like hits the kid, keeps hitting him. Like, he's just.
That is so fucking crazy. Like, what are you doing?
For a tee mower. And the funny, like, he wasn't even, when he was parked, he wasn't even on the tee. He was probably like 100 yards out and like way off to the left in the woods. Like, not even close. Like, the dude had to approach him for like 120 yards. Like,
that's some rage.
So the dude gets like I've kept in touch with him about it. And then when he came to Salt Lake with me, he told me that he had a court date and the guy got arrested because
it's assault and battery.
He assaulted
with a deadly weapon
on a minor.
And then he goes back to California, and then he was like, he didn't come to any of his court dates or anything like that. He gets pulled over on the freeway coming back to golf in Utah, and they had an outstanding warrant. So they arrested him and had a court date. So the kid's like, yeah, I'm 20 now, and I had to go see this guy at court because he beat me up when I was 16 or whatever. It's like, oh man.
Well, Justice, when you mentioned that one, I was like, we're gonna have to tell that. But holy smokes, like, he actually hitting somebody with a golf club. I don't even know if I've ever heard of that before. That's wild.
No,
and WWE.
I feel bad for the kid, but I'm so mad. I was like 100 yards away and I didn't see it. I was right there.
Now, are you mad because you couldn't help him, or are you mad because you couldn't watch it?
Yes.
Yes. Some awesome stories came in from Caleb Bailey. That was a great interview. If you want to laugh and be, here's some things you never heard about a golf course before, definitely check out that episode. All right, we are going to fire it back to Mark Prier because he's had so many good ones, but we can't have a best of episode and not tell this story. So, Mark, fill him in.
And survived with this one superintendent called Jim Riopel. I don't know if he's still a legend out in the Ottawa area, but for the older guys,
I've heard the name for sure.
His nickname was Ripper. He was a complete hard ass, and if I didn't love the job and all the people I was working with so much, like I don't know if it would have stuck in the business. I'm sure a lot of guys can say that, but Ripper was, I always bragged that I'm like, I think I got fired 3 times and quit 4 times on this guy, right? Like, he was
God.
It was, yeah. Like I think everybody at one point in their career has worked at a golf course that somewhat resembles a Caddyshack scene, like out of the movie Caddyshack. Like, it's,
oh God.
Yeah, and that was Cornwall Golf Club. Like, there was one summer, one spring. He's like, "Hey, Mark, you coming back?" I'm like, "Well, I don't have a ride. I didn't have a car. I didn't have a ride." So he bought me like this, like, I'm not kidding, like a 1979 Renault Le Car that was like, like those, like a Renault Le Car. It looked like a really shitbox Mini Cooper thing.
Wow.
Standard. And he said he goes, "I paid $200 for it." And he bought me He didn't buy the car for me. He bought it and then I could use it. I might as well have been just driving a fucking golf cart back and forth to work.
Yeah.
It was so small. Probably had more leg room. And anyway, but I was his night water bitch. I think it was the one summer it was like 95. It didn't rain for like a fucking month. It was so if it didn't rain, I didn't work during the day at the golf club. I'd try and go home and sleep during the day because I'd have to go in at 8 o'clock at night and water. And it was all QC. There was no automation. It was just this little shitty pump stuck in the St. Lawrence River, and it was just all fucking night. Like you know, and I think you got to cut your teeth working on the manual irrigation system at some point in your life. And so I don't know. I think I've been working 2 straight weeks of nights, and I hadn't been out with my buddies on weekends. I just literally you're working night shift. You start to get squirrely. You really do the Carl Spackler. You're talking to animals in the middle of the night, and it's following a flashlight around. And anyway, so it started to get pretty easy. So I decided that I take the work pickup out instead of the Workman. I take the work pickup out and just drive it up and down the fairways. I mean, it was kind of a shitty golf course. Well, not a shitty golf course, but it was okay to drive the pickup truck around in the fairways in the middle of the night, change out all the QCs. And
Wow.
I mean, I wasn't driving on the greens or tees or anything. So anyway, so then I was like, fuck this. You know what? I'm going in tonight. I'm gonna put a couple of beers in the truck and crack a couple while I'm working the night shift and whatever. So, you know, at some point, I remember it was one of the nights. It was like day 30. I think I was working at night, and I'm got the truck on with the headlights on, and might have been 1 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning, right in the middle of one fairway. And I look up the hill at the clubhouse, and there's 2 OPP cruisers with their flashers going. I'm like, and I've got like a full beer going, a half a beer going, and about 3 empties in the floor side. I'm like, oh, this isn't good. This
Whoops.
Yeah. So I left the truck right where it was, and I walked 150, 200 yards up the hill, and the cops are looking, and all you can hear is about 30 quick covers going. That's all you can hear. Like there's just nothing going on. It's 2 a.m. All you hear is all over. And the cops are like, hey, we got a complaint that someone's driving the pickup truck around on the golf course at night. And I looked at him I'm like, fucking really? Wow, you 2 guys are like the fucking super cops. Like, there it is, you know?
Found it.
Yeah. Wow.
Is that you, Farva?
Love that movie. And I sit there, I'm looking, I'm like, I don't know what to say to this guy. And I go, well, yeah, I'm irrigating the golf course. And I'm not kidding. The questions get stupider from here on in. I'm shitting you not. This is our Ontario Provincial Police. So like your equivalent of the staties, right? Like this is the state police officers of Ontario. And he goes, irrigating the golf course at night? Like he said that. Like, I fucking really? Like, you think I should be watering all this shit during the day during play? Like, are you? I said, well, why would you be watering the golf course at night? I'm like, because we would get members. What if we were doing this during the day? He goes, oh. He goes, well, I'm going to need to see some ID. I mean, it's balls hot right now. It's got to be 28. Sorry, I don't know what the equivalent is in US, but 28 degrees Celsius in the middle of the night. Like
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. I'm just wearing a t-shirt and shorts. Like, I'm not in a staff uniform. I'm in flip-flops. I don't need steel toes. I'm just might as well have been in my swim trunks, for God's sake. And I'm like, no, I don't have any idea. I mean, I'm working. I'm on private property. It's not like I'm driving up and down the road with this truck.
I'm actually working. This is my job.
Yeah, for sure. I'm like, my wallet's back. Well, I need to. Fun fact is, I actually have my driver's license number memorized. So I write out my driver's license number to him, and he's typing in the computer. And he goes, "You Mark Greer?" Like, what, you think I'm making that up?
Yes, yeah, like
I guess it was a really good guess, and it landed on someone who looks just like me. It's the same height and weight and fucking hair color. It was just lucky.
Jeez, were these guys actually uniformed officers?
I swear, and there was 2 of them.
They're just strippers.
It was 2. They took 2 cruisers to go and do that. Yeah, which I found like super, super bizarre. But yeah, so you know, I mean, there was like
what? There wasn't a Tim Hortons open, eh? That was my best
Canadian
try.
Well,
right there.
that was well. Hold on.
Yes.
There you go. Yeah.
Very well done, Trevor. Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
I swear, you just put a quarter in that guy and he just goes. Doesn't stop. That's why we love him. We're going to fire things back over, I should say. Across the pond, we're going to Dublin, Ireland to talk to Kieran Killeen, Irish greenkeeper who actually worked this year at Marco Simone for the Ryder Cup. And that interview is unbelievable. He talks a lot about the Ryder Cup and all the shenanigans that go on there, including the fire. But something happened on one of the greens right before the Ryder Cup. You got to hear this story.
So you were in your teams. I cut the approaches, so I wouldn't have even been near the greens because it was just a greens team. But I think it was Jordan Spieth decided to go out and play a few holes on the Wednesday, and then the caddies were following behind with the yardage books. They were checking everything, but there ended up being for some reason, a bit of a miscommunication and a panic and get greens cut because they thought all the players were out playing them. So I got a call. I think we were doing an afternoon job, picking Digitaria out of the bloody semi-rough crabgrass. And I get rushed down to the maintenance yard. I get handed a workman and a buggy and like, go cut the tent green. One of the guys will be behind you, split it down the middle, and one of the guys will join you in 10 minutes. And we were using them, I think turf trainers are called, like the AstroTurf mat on the box.
Yep.
So they were using one of them. But the box that ended up going to me was one that was not ready yet. And I hadn't used these things yet. And first time whatever cutting greens in a week, and I hadn't seen the turf trainers. But I ended up, two of the mechanics were there. I got up to the green and I called over two of the mechanics and was like, is this good to go? Is this how it works? And they're like, yeah, no problem, it's good to go. I split the line right up the middle. You're cutting the green. Not checking behind you. And I got to the other side and I turned around. Right up the middle of my line, there's an indent in the grass. Right up the middle of the green.
Oh, no.
And my heart sank straight away. I was like, oh, no. And I rang people straight away. I called one of the team leaders, happened to be driving by. I called him over. I rang our assistant, Victor, at the time. And he came up. Now, I thought it was worse than it actually turned out to be. So my heart's sinking here at the time. And whatever, they're taking videos and they're sending it on. The lucky part, it didn't rip up any turf. There was no turf ripped up whatsoever. So it was just a bent grass. So it's going to lie down. But it was just a scary thing for me. So I'm standing there at the side of the green. They're ringing people. 5 minutes later, there's 12 mechanics and like 14 leaders standing on this green, and they're all speaking back and forth to each other in Spanish. And I'm just standing here like this head pounding. I'm like, oh my God, I don't know what's going on here. And whatever. They finished talking and just told me to cut the green. And my friend actually came along to help. He was the second guy. He actually ended up being one of my friends. He said he seen my face white. But like I said, at the time, I thought it was a lot worse than it turned out to be. The greens got rolled afterwards. Could still see it a little bit. But after the morning cut the next day, it was gone.
Nice.
But it was just one of those. It was at the time, I turned around just to see how straight the line was. Turned around, and next minute I just see this, and it just 2 days before the Ryder Cup, I was like, I nearly considered just dropping everything. I was straight to the airport.
Just doing the Forrest Gump sprint.
Yeah, just gone, just straight out the main gate, straight to the airport. I was like, oh no! I was like, I hadn't done anything. I hadn't put a foot wrong all summer. Now I'm like 2 days before the Ryder Cup, I fucked it.
That's a great episode to go back and listen to some insights on a big tournament and how that all kind of shakes down, because the Ryder Cup this year was awesome. This next little clip here, this next story is from a gentleman named Michael Knoll, an American. This is a story that everybody should hear. If you have not heard this story, turn it up, go back and listen to the whole episode, send it to your friends. This gentleman, probably not with us today if he's not working turf. And where he's come from to where he is today is some of the most inspiring work I have ever seen, and I think we have ever seen in this industry. The man is an absolute powerhouse, and you have to hear this story.
And ended up having my last drink on the flight home from there. Got sober that Monday, and haven't had a drink since. That's for a whole nother podcast. It's a crazy wild life. But I worked in that career for another year. And I thought if I got sober and got everything together, I'd love it. And what ended up happening was I found out I hated it even more. Like, I mean, I detested it. And on a Thursday, in the middle of August in 2014, I woke up and I told my wife, I'm done. I'm not working here anymore. I'd rather shovel shit than strike another key on the keyboard at this job. And I went in and I quit, and they had no idea that I was going to quit. And they were kind of blown away. And I left, and I took like 3 months off, just messing around. I had some money saved up. I had no debt, started traveling around, going to see family, just kind of taking it easy. Sobriety was kicking. I was traveling, doing that thing, going to meetings, going to conferences. It was great. And a couple people around me were just like, what are you going to do, dude? Like, you don't have enough money to just retire at, 30 years old. And I didn't know what I was going to do. And one of the guys in sobriety pretty much told me, like, dude, you need to go get a job no matter what. It doesn't matter what it is, but you need to do something. You need some purpose in your life outside of this. And I was starting to look into facilities management because that kind of worked with what I did. And I had season tickets to the San Francisco Giants at the time. And Miss Vicky behind me, that was I was drinking and completely fucked up for like the beginning World Series, and then I was like completely sober and aware.
2010 to 2015, completely different city.
When Pablo hit his third home run, I'm completely just gagged out, drunk, and I remember getting up out of the seat and like, there's no way Pablo's hitting the third home run tonight. I'm in the bathroom.
Boom.
And I hear the boom, and I'm like,
That's all right. They got KMBR playing in the bathrooms at the stadium, so at least you got to hear it. Yeah.
But Miss Victoria asked me, during one of the playoff series, she's like, what are you going to do? And she's like, if you had all the money in the world, what would you do? And I'm like, man, I'd build a baseball field in my backyard or a golf course and take care of it. She's like, well, why don't you work here? And I'm like, for $15 an hour, you crazy. Like, I'm not doing that. She's like, why? And I told her I was worried about what people would think of me, right? I have this image issue. And she's like, you care? And she started pointing at people in the crowd. You care what this person thinks? And like, I'm working through this in sobriety and everything. And then the guy that's working with me in sobriety asked me a very similar question. I told him the same thing, except he took it to the next level and he said, what are you going to do about it? And I fall short sometimes being arrogant. It's a lot better these days than it was back then. And I got arrogant on the phone with him. I said, you know what, dude, I'm going to go to a golf course tomorrow morning. I said, I'm going to check into, taking care of a golf course. And he said, good, let me know how it goes, and hangs the phone up on me. And that was a Thursday night. Friday morning, I got a ride with one of this old timer, Big Billy. I love him. He just made 38 years sober. Him and I were connected at the hip. He's like in his 70s. I'm in my young 30s, and we just used to go everywhere for sobriety. And he was a badass. And he took me to the golf course because I had a company car for 8 years, and I lost my company car when I quit the job. So he took me to the golf course, and I walked on. It was Poplar Creek in San Mateo, California, right by the airport. It's actually one of the busiest golf courses in the United States, which I didn't know. And I literally got out the truck. I started looking around. They had some maintenance people around. Started tapping people on the shoulder. I said, hey, where's the superintendent? By the third person, I tapped on the shoulder. Like, he's right there, actually. He had a backpack blower on. Just got a big old South Skull roller off the green. And I went and tapped him on his shoulder. His name was Tim Sedgley. And I introduced myself, said, hi, I'm Michael Knoll. I'm willing to work for free. I just want to know if you could teach me to do what you're doing so I could learn this business.
For free.
And he's like, what are you talking about, kid? And he like looks around. He's like, is this a prank? I said, no, sir. I said, I want to get in this industry, and the easiest way to get in this industry is work for free. Like, how can you deny free labor? It's a principle, right? Behind that, I just wanted to learn. I had no clue No clue what goes on in this golf course world, but I know I needed a job. I didn't go look on Craigslist or I nothing. I just went straight to the source, and I told him, I was like, look, I'm a hard worker. I'll blow your mind with what I can do, but I need you to teach me. I just need an opportunity. And he is just like looking at me like I'm crazy, and I'm dressed my old part, super professional. He goes, you know what? Why don't you take a walk in with me? And we go into the office of the clubhouse, and he had me fill out a resume and application and everything. And he said, I'm going to look this over. I'll give you a call later. So me and Big Billy get in the truck. We head down to San Jose. We go to a meeting. In the middle of the meeting, my phone rings 3 times. I do not use my phone in a meeting out of respect. It's important. I get out and I call him, and he's like, you really are who you say you are. Because I told him a little bit about the job I had. And he called my references within that hour of me leaving. And they all answered and told him who I was. And he's like, I got 3 questions for you, or, make sure you understand what's going on. He's like, number one, like, you do understand this is $15 an hour, right? And I'm like, it's $15 more than I'm willing to take. I was like, beautiful. He goes, it's not a full-time position. It'll only be 1,000 hours in the fiscal calendar year. I said, perfect. It's 1,000 hours more than what I was expecting. And he goes, lastly, it seems like you've been in an office in a suit and tie for the last 8 years. He goes, you do understand this is manual labor, right? I say, yes, sir. And he goes, all right. And he's like, let's start the process. And it ended up being a city union job. So what happened was the night before I went and saw him, they had a city planning meeting. Little did I know is they were building a driving range, and they added to the budget 1,000 hour part-time labor to help build the driving range. The first time they hired anybody in 7 years. And I'm just like, God's pretty damn good when you do his work, And I went through the process. It took a little while. That was probably early November. I didn't get to start working until like January. So I started working in January for him, and I started building a driving range at Poplar Creek. And I remember the first thing that they had me do. I got there. He gave me a backpack blower, and he told me to go to the parking lot and clean out the parking lot. I put that backpack blower on, and I put my earbuds in, and it brought me back to being 12, 13, 14, 15 years old, just getting into landscaping and doing lawns. And I remember thanking God and telling him, this is the greatest thing ever. If this is all I get to do, this is so much better than what I was doing. And I did it the best I possibly could. And just the feeling of being back in it was like, I'm in the right place.
Honestly, just that little clip does not do it justice. You need to go back and listen to this whole interview, because Michael's story is so inspiring, and he's doing such great work for people in our industry and everybody in his life. We're actually going to jump to something different that we did on the podcast this year. We had a wedge specialist from the Vokey brand who works with the Titleist players on the PGA Tour, Korn Ferry Tour, and some of the other tours. And yeah, it was a really cool interview. He tells a cool story here about the players. So this is Shane Dial from Titleist. Do you ever have that stress? Like you're watching the tournament at the tournament or on TV, and you're like, okay, he's about to hit this big shot. He better hit this properly. Like that's my wedge.
Absolutely. 100%. No. So I'll give you a great instance on that. So we just had the Valspar that was in Tampa. So great story. So Jordan ended up leaving his 60T at TPC course for the players. He accidentally left it there, so he didn't have a 60 degree. So I had to build him a new one. And so I had to go out and work with him, make sure that, number one, his leading edge was correct, the sole depth was correct, the trailing edge camber was correct, and also the toe to heel radius was correct. And so ended up building him a wedge for, like I said, last week. And I'm watching him every single day, and he had 4 chip-ins that week. Wow. 3. He had 3 chip-ins that week. And so
you're just high-fiving people in the back room, right?
Oh yeah, well, it's cool, but not a lot of people realize that I built that wedge, and I usually don't tell people. So Jordan's in contention. The entire week. We get to Sunday, he's got the lead, and so Jordan's hitting his 60T Vokey design prototype extremely well, which is, it makes you feel good to realize that you created something that is working for a professional golfer that is seeking to win a tournament.
Crazy.
And unfortunately, Jordan had a mistake on 16, which pulled him out of the tournament, but he had a fantastic week. I mean, his up and down. If I read the stats correctly, on Sunday of last week, his up and down ratio. So he got up and down 11 out of 13 times last week.
It's pretty good.
Which is very remarkable. And five of those were bunker up and downs, which is unbelievable. All 5 times that he was in the bunker and got up and down. So he had 100% up and down ratio for the bunker, which is unheard of.
And was he using that 60 degree? Sometimes
he was using that 60. Oh, absolutely. Wow. He was using the 60 the entire time in the bunkers.
Wow.
He had a couple that came out really squirrely and somehow figured out how to get close to the hole. Which, I mean, Jordan will always say that that's what he meant to do. But you can always tell from a shot what it was meant to do and then what it actually did do. Mm-hmm. But Jordan is an awesome case of a guy who respects the game entirely and respects the person that's there to help him. JT is the same way. But going back to what we were talking about, it's a really cool thing because these players are just like everybody else. Everybody puts these professionals at a very high pedestal, on a huge pedestal, and thinking that these guys are like the top echelon, when in all reality, these guys are just like me and you.
They're just regular
they
guys.
just happen to play golf.
I so sincerely disagree with that, because I can't hit shots like them, and I'm jealous. But I know what you mean. Personality wise, as people, they're just regular dudes that just happen to be insanely fucking good at golf.
Insanely good at what they do. And so I mean, these guys want to get to know who you are as a person, so that way they know that they can trust you. Mm-hmm. And building those relationships with these players, especially when you're basically holding their career in your hands, because one mistake can cost them millions of dollars. So with all the guys that I get to work with every single week, I always take into consideration that if I was them, I would want the person that's touching my wedges put 130% into it.
This was a really cool interview for us, something I had never really gotten into about equipment and different things like that. So cool one to check out if you're into that kind of thing. Oh, yep. Andrew Egan's up, boys. Colorado. Some of the best.
Yeah. We have our member guest. It's like one of the oldest member guests in Colorado. And it's huge. It's like 4 days long. Tons of people come. One of the days, one of the members and their guests didn't show up. So they had to have somebody go out and score for somebody else, like the other 2 that they were supposed to play with. So our head pro was like, well, you want to just go out and play with them? Well, yeah, sure. You go paid to play golf and keep their score? Sure.
Yeah, why not?
We get out there, and I'll just preface this. They're both big jack dudes. I'm not going to say their names, but it's a father and a son, and they're both just
meatheads.
Yeah. And they're really, like, when I was playing with them, they were really nice. But we get on to number 10, which is like a 265-yard par 4. Drivable, but if you hit driver, you go out of bounds, over the green. Can't hit driver, but like,
it's three wood drivable.
Yeah. So the guy I'm playing with, he's like, I don't think I can hit a 3-iron there. He's like, so the guys were on the green still. I was like, yeah, I don't think you can hit a 3-iron there either. Like, that's 265 to carry onto the green. He just nutted on this thing. Lands it on the front edge of the green. Yeah. Rolls it right up in between this guy's legs. And I see the guy on the green pick his ball up and tee it up in the front of the green.
No way.
And I was like, dude, you just teed your ball up on the front of the green. And this is an expensive tournament to play in. Like, it's pretty competitive. and they go driving up there, and he gets out. The guy's on the next tee box, and he runs up and he's like, "Why the fuck did you tee my ball up on the front of the green, you fucking asshole?" Like just screaming at him. And pretty soon they just start going at it. These two guys just rolling around on the tee box, throwing hands. I was like, this is unreal. And I'm sitting there just sitting in the cart like, oh shit. And like I'm like, oh, I should probably call somebody to get this stopped. So I like called
you
my
should have
boss.
filmed it.
Like, oh, I should have. I really wish I should have, or I wish I did, but I for whatever reason I didn't. But I called my boss, and like two other guys come running out there and like broke it up.
I'm assuming the Jack dude whooped his ass.
No, actually.
Well, another example of you just never know what you're going to see on a golf course. Fisticuffs and all. All right, we're going to head down to Tennessee now for one of the hardest stories that we had to have on the podcast this year, but a fantastic one. And we can't have a best of episode without telling Brad Floyd's story. So buckle up. This is a difficult one, but trust me, you will be better for it. There's a lot more in life than a golf course. There's a lot more in life than worrying about the little things. Because trust me, at the end of the day, we're all so lucky to be here.
Yeah, everybody loves a good coma story.
Oh, fuck. What? Swing in the bat,
I
right?
thought it was going to be a serious story, but he's taking it that way. Eh?
Wow.
I'm not shy. It's
good for you.
Yeah, so December 2021, I had COVID pneumonia. I think probably like Thanksgiving, that time of year, went to a couple, like to Thanksgiving party and a birthday party. You may have got COVID at one of those points. I'm not sure, but so December 1st, I actually took the COVID test, come back positive. I actually felt okay, just kind of sick. Didn't lose my taste or smell or anything else. Just felt kind of tired and run down. And I was, quarantine time, the 10 days or whatever, I was ready to actually go back to work. Still felt kind of sluggish, but I was ready to go back to work. And then all of a sudden I went downhill like really quick. The biggest factor was my oxygen just kept dropping. And I was going to doctor's appointments, and they were like, it's very dangerous when your oxygen gets below 90. And so I was monitoring that at home, and it was staying about 92, and then it would drop down in the 85, 80. It just becomes scary. And at one point I actually passed out. And then December 11th, actually my wife, Mandy, she called 911, and they had to get an ambulance to come get me. I was wheezing. I couldn't breathe. And they take me on to the hospital, and she says, I'll meet you there in a little bit. And I said, okay, that's fine. And I knew I was bad, but I get to the hospital, they admit me, I'm still struggling breathing. And they've asked me several times, they say, we have to have your permission to be put on a ventilator. And I'm like, I don't want to do that. I was like, why are we doing this? And they was like, your oxygen is so low. And so I asked them, I said, well, what's your opinion? Like, if this is you, would you do it? And they was like, absolutely. You're at that point. So I called Mandy from the hospital on the cell phone and say, hey, they're going to put me on a ventilator. And she asked me why. And I was like, well, I'm not real sure. It's just, I guess my oxygen's staying low. And so that was December 11th. I basically go into a coma for 7 weeks. And
Jesus.
At that point, I've had a trach put in, a feeding tube put in, catheter. I've got monitors hooked up on my chest and everything. And the next thing I remember is right around Valentine's Day. So December 11th to about Valentine's Day, I remember nothing.
It was 2 months gone.
2 months just absolutely gone. And it's not like you go into a coma and then this day you're out. They tried to bring me out of the coma several times and my body was not responding. And at this point, I've had a blood clot. One of my lungs has collapsed. I mean, just my body's just been ravaged. Basically, it's the 1st of February, and I just know I'm in another room than where I was, and I can't talk, I can't move, my fingers don't move, my arms don't work, my legs don't work. I can barely move my head a little bit. I can't talk, can't speak. I'm literally trapped in my own body. And I'm kind of mouthing, trying to figure out what's going on. Like where, I don't know where I'm at. But I remember specifically asking the question, like, did we have Christmas already? Cause it was Thanksgiving, December 11th. I'm looking forward to getting up Christmas morning, the kids opening presents. That's a big thing. And I have no idea where I'm at. I mean, nothing.
Holy shit.
Wow. That's being at the bottom right there for sure.
Yeah, that's at the bottom. And just the experience and coming out of that, I mean, I was on over 50 medicines at one point. I was on propofol, the Michael Jackson drug, fentanyl. I mean, just any drug you could name. I mean, I was on it, and the pain medicine, all that, and I don't know if it was the combination of the medicine or what, but I've had these crazy dreams that were, I don't know, hallucinations or dreams. I don't know, but they were so real to me and just, they were so outlandish, but I thought I was in the hospital for a different reason. I actually thought like we were in a war with Ukraine, and I was like one of the first people that was attacked in the United States from Ukraine. And I don't know why this was in my head, but all the stuff, and even to this day, like, I know it sounds kind of outlandish now, but I mean, it was real as could be to me. So, I mean, it's insane. And then all the other stuff. And then it's always funny. The other guys joke around because a couple of the dreams, I was fishing with Michael Jordan.
Oh, wow. Hell yeah.
I mean, but that was still real. But all these dreams and hallucinations, as funny as it was being Michael Jordan, they were actually all kind of like nightmarish dreams because I was in the state that I was in the hospital. Like, I couldn't move, and I couldn't talk. I wasn't like fishing with Michael Jordan. I was on his yacht with the family, and basically I was stuck, and I couldn't do anything.
Wow, that's crazy.
And
it's absolutely wild.
I've listened to other podcasts, and I've met actually a few other people that have been through similar kind of things, and they experience the same kind of things. And it's like, some people, they don't even want to talk about the dreams they had, because even now, it's like, I still, whether it's real or not, I experienced it, and it was tough. Yeah.
Yeah, one of the craziest stories I've ever heard for sure, and very, very inspiring to take every day as they come and enjoy it and really, live life to the fullest. So we really, really thank Brad for coming on and making himself vulnerable and telling that story, because I think it's really helped some people. So we're going to send it over to Tony Frandria because he's got a good one for us. Take it away, Tony.
So when they're stimping greens, okay, so the stimp meter, as we know, was invented not so everyone can measure up against their buddies' greens, how fast they are, which is a whole nother podcast, right? But it's for consistency, right? So they're on a special radio. This is at one of the open courses. They're on a special channel, so no one can hear them. And they're giving stimp readings in centimeters. It's like 4,200. What's going on? Well, we don't want anyone to know how fast the greens are. But then it's like, well, this green is 7 or 8 centimeters or whatever inches or centimeters off 13. Send the roller there. Then we're going to cut this one. We're going to roll this one. And these guys get the greens like so consistent. Another funny story is I was in the TV truck with the superintendent. It's so cool. And members told the superintendent that the course was too green.
Nice.
Nice. And here's the thing: the course was
hurting my
green,
eyes,
but fast and like firm. I'm talking tees cut at like 200.
Like a video.
Right?
Holy shit! Greens
I'm
or
talking
tees
about
at 200.
Yeah, I mean, and greens at like 0.85 where they're facing the bed knife. They've got 50 grinders in the shop.
Ooh.
And the superintendent says, "Do not change." The superintendent says, "Do not change any of the hues on this. This is the course. This is the way the course looks." It was a whole big deal with the board. Then the board wanted. This is hearsay now, and I'm not saying the course, obviously, but not hearsay. This is just I heard it. I've heard the story where the board was upset that the superintendent had the course too green and it didn't present itself well enough for the open.
Crazy, eh? Yeah. Well, we heard it all this year. Stuff that made us laugh, stuff that made us cry, stuff that made us question if we should still even be doing this. But we love it. We appreciate everybody that has come on here. It is not something that I say lightly. We could not do this without all of our guests and all of the support by all of the quote-unquote fans out there. We don't call you fans because you guys do such a great job at helping us with what we need to do for the show and also producing such great content and such great golf courses on your own. So you're not just fans, you are part of this community. We call you our members because it's the best membership to have, right? All those golfers can have their stupid golf memberships. But to have a membership with Turf Today, be a part of our community, God, there's nothing better. I'm going to leave you with this. I honestly didn't know what was going to happen with the show. We didn't know what angle it was going to take, what avenue it was going to run down, or if it was going to be accepted. But the fact of the matter is, this is a show for you. This is a show for the greenkeepers. It's for the turf staff. It's for the turf community. It's for the turf industry. So it's for everybody. We want it to keep getting better. We want it to keep growing. Reach out to us. Give us some insights. Give us some suggestions. We want to keep rolling with you. All right? So come see us January 31st for the first ever Turf Today Cup. It is at Grass Clippings, 6 p.m. under the fucking lights, baby. It's going to be one of the sickest nights ever. I've already got a bunch of people signed up. Spots are filling up fast. So head over to the Turf Today podcast or just Turf Today on Instagram. Go into the link in bio. It's all there. If you want to reach out to us for anything, turf2day@gmail.com. Wishing everybody a very, very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. We will check in with you next year. But for now, just keep those reels sharp.